Hello, everyone, and happy Women's History Month. And welcome back to another episode of The Nonprofits, the show where we discuss news and topics of the day from a skeptical humanist perspective. My name is Cynthia, and today's topics are filled with more what the. It's not 5 minutes in, y'all. Locally and abroad. So, before we actually get into more news that will possibly make you put your therapist on speed dial, let's introduce our host. To my far left, we got Helen Greene. How are you today, darling?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you for having me back. It's wonderful to see all your beautiful faces, and I got some stuff to say, so we'll have stuff to talk about. So that will be great. That's why we do the show.
That's right. That's right. And we know Helen. Every time that Helen comes on, Helen got some stuff to say. I should know.
I am opinionated.
Yes. And next to Helen is our Socratic student, August, the atheist. Hello, August, darling. How are you?
I am fantastic now that you're here, Cynthia.
Well,
I'm glad to be back. Yeah, I'm really excited for this.
Well, I am excited to have you back, August. You know, I have to also say that some of your latest work on the nonprofits has just have me just jumping for joy. I'm looking forward to an August Let's It Go today.
Okay.
Yes.
Try my best.
And you will. I really believe that you will. And last but definitely not least is our guest host who has so much pull with the underworld that she can get you 60 seconds with Satan. Then can we say hello to Anni? Anni, how are you?
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Hail Satan, hail Satan. I mean, not really, but metaphorically.
It's okay. Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan. We're all good. We're all good with hail Satan. Hailing Satan here. And and before we actually get into the show, Anni, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure.
Introduce yourself to the people.
Well, I do run a TikTok channel called 60 Seconds with Satan. I give 60 seconds kind of anti-religion. I try to be reasonable, just take arguments and talk about them. Actually, a lot of things I talk about are from the shows from the Atheist Experience. So thank you guys for welcoming here. This is a great honor.
Awesome.
But apart from that, I am also a drag performer. So I'm into that. And what else? I'm vegan. I'm polyamorous. I'm probably a bunch of other things. Pansexual. You know my Tinder profile. You can look it up there.
Everybody look up Anni right now.
I am on there.
Well, thank you so much for actually joining us today, Anni. We are just so pleased as punch to have you here. And I will also have to be saying, because they pay me to say it, not really. This show is a product of the Atheist Community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promoting of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. And today we're going to be talking about some things, guys. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Pastor's 40-day fast that ended early. And then we have a What the Florida, which makes a reverse wokeness kind of costly. And then we're going to segment 3, which is the SCOTUS searching for God's opinion on the internet. And then we're going to round it out with a step in the right direction, where Spain is getting it right, where America gets it wrong. And as with all of our shows, links to today's topics and the news we discuss are available in the description below. And a reminder that if you want to come into the show prepared, you can check out the nonprofits on Facebook's fan page every Friday night for a list of the articles ahead of time. And with that being said, let's move on to segment numero uno, which is a strange Y'all like that R flipping?
Love it.
Very good. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Nailed it.
It's very sexy, Cynthia. Well done.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I've been practicing. Strange, but true.
Strange but true.
All right, guys, I am new, but they gave me the first article, so we're going for it, okay? So, strange but true, a Mozambique pastor died after attempting a 40-day Jesus fast. So, I don't know if you know about the 40-day Jesus fast. In the Bible, there's a verse about him going out in the desert, not eating for 40 days, being tempted by the devil, but of course he lives. And because a lot of religious people think that Jesus is someone to aspire to, they think that this is a great feat that they also want to try. So, of course, we're never happy when someone dies in the name of religion, or really when anyone dies at all, right? But it's hard to read this. You know, this was a man, he got through 25 days before he was so weak he couldn't stand. He did get some medical attention, but it wasn't enough, and he passed away. And I think that's awful. I think it's awful that anyone would die trying to achieve something that we can't even prove actually happened. That makes me sad.
Yeah. August, what did you got to say about it?
Well, so I want to just start off by saying that when I was looking more into this, it seems like the definition of what fasting actually is very contested. So I'm not sure about this case in particular. Some people use it as abstaining completely from food and water. Some say it's only non-water things, so you can still drink water, and some say you can occasionally drink water. So it's kind of a little weird in that sense. And when I was looking into other cases of this, it seems like 18 days was like the record for absolutely no food or water. And even then, they say that the prisoner who from Austria that was enduring that, he actually might have licked condensation off the walls. So is that really no water? So
No food
I'm
or
wondering.
water?
No
That's
food or water for
crazy.
18 days.
That's
So I'm
crazy.
wondering if this, not that it really matters that much, I just think it's a little interesting that they don't put that. But I think this whole concept is a bit ridiculous, of course. And, you know, clearly the evidence shows that, like I said, the world record at this point for complete abstaining from food and water was 18 days. And that was forceful. That wasn't even for religious purposes. He got locked in a cell. So I did see that there has been many cases of this, even one case of a 15-year-old who was forced to fast and passed away as a result of their parents forcing them to. Luckily, the parents got 25 years in prison, it looks like, so that's good. But another Christian was saying in a different article, the Bible never said you can't drink water when you're fasting. So like almost blaming him. And I'm like, that's one way to put it, I guess. Helen, what do you think?
That's a spicy take. Yeah. Ugh. Anyway, I have to think to myself that this is just another person that thinks he's special because he thinks that he has a special relationship with his deity, that somehow he's above the laws of science and nature. Okay, well, again and again, we hear this. And I know that the impulse, because we hear stories like this all the time and laugh at the absolute absurdity of this whole thing. But on a level, as a empathetic human being, I just feel sad. Because I know that this had to be a horrible death. The article said that his organs had shut down and he was so weak that he couldn't stand. And I know as a former believer, I've had some bad ideas and some bad takes, but they never took me to a place where I would consciously choose to harm myself. Even if, and it's not, he thought he was doing something great. He thought he was obtaining some kind of spiritual, I don't know, wisdom or whatever to get closer to Jesus. But I can't help but feel that there are people in his community that have lost someone that really cared about him. I'm sure that he left behind friends, family, a congregation who relied on him, not even for just spiritual, advice, just for, being a part of a family, being part of a social group. And this is just another reminder of how toxic beliefs can be. That when they take away your critical thinking, they take away your ability to keep yourself safe and those around you safe. So, yeah, you want to prove yourself as a god. Good luck. It's not going to work very well. But I do hope some good comes out of this, and the story acts as a warning to other people to not attempt this, and also kind of give a little skepticism to things. Maybe you can fast for this long and not have food or water and be okay. Just saying, probably a good thing.
Yeah, I did look it up. So a person can survive up to 3 months without food while also drinking, but that's also provided you're pretty healthy. They said if you had high blood pressure, I think, or if you have diabetes for sure, that's definitely going to interfere. And this man had some other health issues, which is why he probably didn't make it through. But it's really sad for me because I actually think this is something that I relate to. I used to work for an organization called Acquire the Fire, which is a huge throwback. I don't know if you guys remember. I worked in their call center, so I called youth pastors and tried to get them to come to this thing. I was really bad at it. I'm a terrible telemarketer, so hopefully I didn't do that much harm. But people might not know that organization was crazy. Like, we were interns, and so they kind of controlled us. We lived in their dorms. We went to their cafeterias, and they had us fast for 1 day every other week. And then we also had to do a 3-day fast twice a year. And I remember there was people who had diabetes, and they were like, I don't think I could do this. And they're like, well, just keep trying, and we'll call paramedics if there's a problem. Like, it was not a good situation. And when I was at that place, I actually lost so much weight that I stopped having my period, which is something I looked it up later. It's something that like elite gymnasts sometimes get, like if your body's like in trauma mode and it's like, I can't anymore. But like, I was so into the religion. It was like a pride thing. I was like, yeah, I pushed my body so far for Jesus that I didn't get my period. And that means that I'm super religious. Like, it was something that people aspired to. And I do know people who tried this 40-day fast or some version of it because they were like, yeah, we want to be like Jesus. And like, we want to put all of our trust in Jesus. And like, now looking back on it, I'm like, I harmed myself for this ideal. And it's hard to put yourself in the mindset of someone who's religious. Like, I don't want to call people a cult, but like, when you are in a mindset, you just cannot see another way. And you're like, this God is going to save me. I'm going to fast, and maybe I'm going to put myself in harm, but it's okay because this God is going to save me. And it's just really sad looking from the outside because you're like, well, clearly God didn't save this man. And like, what does that mean? Does this mean he failed his fast? Did God fail this man? It's like, I wonder even what his congregation is thinking about this death.
Yeah, I first want to say, Annie, I'm so sorry for what you went through. And you're absolutely right that those people who are elite gymnasts or athletes or people who suffer from, EDs, they can experience that same thing. And that is horrific that you also were told that that was a righteous thing and that, oh, look how well you're doing by harming yourself, by self-harming. I mean, obviously not, entirely intentionally. One thing I do want to say is you brought up about his friends and family, everyone said. In the article, it says that his brother actually is denying that it was due to him fasting, aka starving himself. His brother is quoted as saying, "The truth is my brother suffered from low blood pressure," which could be true. I'm not saying that's not true. And that might be the reason why he didn't last very long. As we were saying, that if you're going into that starvation mode, if your body is already experiencing things like low blood pressure or diabetes or anything else that we mentioned, it can be more detrimental faster. So, but the fact that his brother is even saying, like, he's taking out the whole fasting thing and just saying, oh, it's low blood pressure, as if the dude didn't go 25 days without eating and supposedly drinking, or at least very little if he did, because clearly. So I think that was horrible. And one thing I do want to make abundantly clear is that when I was looking for extra information about this, all of the articles I was seeing about, fasting for Jesus and whatnot, it was giving instructions on how to fast for Jesus. Now, I will give the benefit of the doubt that it was saying, do it slowly, do it small, like you said, like go 1 day, which I think is harmful in and of itself. There is intermediate what is it called?
Intermediate fasting.
Intermittent.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mhm.
Intermittent fasting. And that can actually be healthy. But one thing I want to point out is that many of these articles either didn't say or said at the very end, check with your doctor before doing this.
Mhm.
Every other thing was like, oh, start small, maybe skip one meal, then 2 meals, then try one day. And I'm like, you should be telling people, even if you were advocating for this, you should be telling them, speak to your doctor before you do any of this. Because, like Annie was saying, this can be horrific for people who have pre-existing conditions, and it's just not healthy. Your body is not supposed to go into starvation mode. It goes into starvation mode to protect itself. That's not a good thing. So it's just, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, this is very much so a very tragic story. My heart goes out to the family of this pastor, his congregation, and his community, and I'm very sorry for their loss. But this is not something that we are not unfamiliar with. We have reported on similar, I would call them faith demonstrations, specifically from the continent of Africa. We talked about, I believe it was in Zimbabwe, a pastor named James Balaka, I want to say. No, Sakala, James Sakala, who died after he was buried alive by his church members, as he promised them that he would be resurrected within 3 days, just like Jesus. Also, even the article mentioned in 2015, a Zimbabwe man died after 30 days. From doing a similar fast in 2006. A British coroner also found that a woman died halfway through a similar fast that this Mozambique pastor happened to pass away. And I was curious about specifically. Um, I think I was curious specifically about what some of these motivations are when it comes to these extreme demonstrations of faith. Um, and one of the things that I happened to look up was this article that was published in ResearchGate that actually talked about evangelicalism. It's specifically on the continent of Africa, and one of the things that they said that African evangelicalism, according to these scholars, is characterized by an uncompromising dualism between the powers and Christianity. And when they're saying powers, they're talking about specifically some of the cultural aspects of previous religion, like ancestral worship. And so in Christianity, if it's espoused that Jesus is the most powerful being in the universe, then and also Jesus even saying in one of the Gospels that greater works ye shall do, who have faith in me. So this thing is also about saying that, well, Jesus said that if we believe in him and have faith in him, that we can do these great works, and therefore fasting extremely without food or water would be a demonstration of faith. Burying alive just because I will come back will be a demonstration of faith. Even there also have been reports of specifically from the continent of people supposedly saying that people died and came back to life, and these demonstrations were found in like churches and in front of people, and saying that this is proof of Christ's existence. So this is, and not to say that this is something that does not necessarily exist in other countries, but it's very prevalent on the continent, and which also happens to be the evangelicalism is one of the fastest growing forms of Christianity on the continent. And so which leads me to ask, just keeping those things in mind,
Mhm.
could it be that this dualism between culture and religion leading to feats of faith more prevalent in Africa versus the West be more something that is like a demonstration that let me see how I can word this properly. With this happening, could this be something that since it's part of culture and also religion, specifically on the continent, that a way that, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, that that this will be something that would be more prevalent within that particular country. I mean, not that country, but the continent of itself, because of the cultural aspects of their previous religion. Helen, what do you think about that?
Well, we do know that like a bunch of colonizers went over there and basically stripped the people that were living there of their own beliefs and their own cultural identity, and they pushed these evangelical and Christian worldviews on the people that were there. And also too, if you don't have, we know that certain parts of Africa are still struggling to even get an economic foothold, and they don't have access to the same education, same healthcare, same things that we have access to in the West. And I think that shows that because of wealth disparity, racism, prejudice, not allowing people to celebrate their own cultures and ideas, that it leads to extremism. It leads to ideas where people can't see the forest from the trees, that they can't break things down and realize that they're doing things that is harmful to them. And I think, yeah, we can call it like a spiritual dick wagging contest, if we wanted to. But to me, I'm like, well, great, you fasted for Jesus, but you died, man. And that's the thing that makes me so frustrated, because even with this, showing like, I fasted for so long, and, holding up like this is something to aspire to, the person still died. And and I guess what you're saying about his brother, saying that he died from low blood pressure, that deniability sinking in, which is probably related to the religiosity, not wanting to believe that his God, would do this to, his brother, and not wanting to put the blame there, and I'm not saying that he's doing that, but that's the vibe I'm getting. And that's what makes me so sad, because then he's not dealing with his grief properly. He's not looking at, looking at the thing that really happened and dealing with those psychological trauma and working through those things. And I think that's where the frustration comes in, because even if he do a 3-day fast, man, if you want to do a fast for Jesus, do 3 days. I don't advise it, but if you want to, you talk to your doctor, do 3 days. Don't do anything that's going to cause long-term detrimental harm, because to be fair, if Jesus is God, he's not following the same human laws the rest of us are.
I was going to mention that too. Are you trying to say you're being
better than Jesus?
Yeah, exactly. Well, remember, it's the whole greater things that ye shall do if you follow me, etc., etc.
I know,
Bible.
but I'm like, dude, have you been able to move a mountain? No, you weren't able to. So.
No, you have to speak to the mountain, Helen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And tell it, be ye removed from thine place into the sea, and it will obey you. No, you don't move it. You talk to it. You say, hey, mountain.
Sorry, dozing off. We got double talk. Just gonna take a snooze over here.
I'm so sorry. I do apologize. But I will say, I did want to say this specifically about, when we're talking about like cultural aspects and on the continent. So like, one of the things that even though like a majority of the continent was colonized, mostly by Europeans, and of course, yes, they did bring Christianity with them. However, one of the things that Dr. Richard Firth said, shout out to the rich Brit, is that, one of the things that Christianity specifically can be is anything to anybody, and so since like it's a malleable belief system, so in some cases we have that malleability when it comes to the continent in of itself. trying to take like powers that, you know, have been like kind of passed down by oral tradition through griots and things of that nature, and then like interweaving it within their lives right now, when it comes to their belief system and the actual demonstration, because Jesus said, right? So, you know, and even though like, yes, like racism with this is a thing, you know, stripping of resources is a thing, especially like when you're looking at the prevalency of any type of theism. Usually scholars would say that where you would see theism in of itself flourish, where poverty is rampant, you know. And it's kind of, and it's sad that that is the case, but you know, I believe that this is something that we're specifically seeing in these particular areas. So I want to keep, you know, let us consider, you know, the cultural aspect, specifically of like why we're seeing more of these demonstrations, let's say specifically here, than let's say like, you know, in Illinois or in California or whatever, or Britain, you know, just to kind of like give reference. But Annie, I know that you had something to chime in about, and then August, if you could please give your 2 cents as well.
Yeah, I do think that culture is a big part, not just like that kind of culture, but in the internship I was in, like that was a thing to do. Like if you didn't participate in this fast, people would be like, would you not love Jesus? Like, why would you not do this? And so there's a lot of peer pressure, like everyone else is doing it, so you got to do it. Here's another thing. This is just my conspiracy theory. This internship had the cafeteria that we got food from, so they were saving the bucks by us fasting all the time. So I don't know if that was part of their plan, part of their economic plan. Maybe Jesus wanted them to have us fast so that they could save some money. I don't know.
It's like a side benefit.
Possible.
Little side benefit to it.
Plus, for $9.99, we can save you some money. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. So August, head us off here.
Yeah.
Right. So I do want to make it very, very clear that by me saying that his brother is kind of, you know, whatever his reasoning is for saying it's low blood pressure, I'm not trying to say that he's, you know, everyone grieves differently. He might just be, you know, going through that process. I'm not blaming him. You know, he is most likely just as much of a victim as his brother is. So, you know, I just want to make it clear, it is not okay for anyone to get hurt or die in this way, especially for, you know, firmly held beliefs. And it just kind of is a whole cyclical thing. And I think you guys hit on the cultural thing pretty well. So I wanted to just add that before anyone says this is not just Christianity, there are several religions that do this sort of thing. So we say, you know, fasting for Jesus or whatever, but there's fasting for every religion, and people have died as a result of those as well. So this is more of a critique of the religion in general, and also like the colonization of Africa in particular. But this does extend to many other religions, and it is all abhorrent in its principle. Not saying that it's their fault for passing away. It's awful. But I just want to make that clear that we are not saying this is just Christianity. It was just the article we had. And then just to sum it up here, I think everyone would agree with this. You know, like Helen said, please talk to your doctor. If you are dead set on doing some sort of fasting for your religious, spiritual, or otherwise beliefs, please just talk to your doctor. Don't go to the extreme. Don't go 25 days. Whatever deity would require you to do that is just, yeah, I think I could pretty much, you fill in the blanks there. Like, you shouldn't, you shouldn't have to prove your loyalty, your love, your dedication to a deity by starving yourself. And, you know, just please talk to your doctor. Do not do anything without your doctor's okay, and, you know, do what's best for you. If you are dead set on it, please just don't take it to the extreme. A couple days won't hurt you as much as 25 days will, obviously. So I think that's probably pretty much it for summing that up.
And I believe you've done a beautiful job of summing up. Thank you, August.
Thank you.
2 thumbs up, August.
Yes.
Take a bow. Take a bow.
Yes.
Let's see. I'll do everything. It's fine.
Thank you. And thank you to our veteran and our new viewers for getting us over the 11,000 subscriber hump. We are so close to 12,000. We are just knocking on the door right now. We just want to drink it all up like it's a cup of water. So if you are watching us right now and you haven't subscribed yet, you need to get on that. Like, do the things like hit the subscribe button and be a subscriber. Por favor. Thank you. And once you subscribe, like this video and ring the bell so that you always know when a new Nonprofits episode premieres every Sunday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Every Sunday, 3 p.m. Central. And even when we leap forward, it will be Central Daylight Time. It's always Central, just basically saying 3 p.m. Central. So after you do that, share the link to our channel with your friends, with your family members, with your coworkers, with the neighbor guy you don't like, and with the neighbor guy that you may have a cookie with, and anyone and everyone. And let's get the word out so that we can start helping fundraisers, chat and we get the chat emojis and the membership. Oh yeah, that's later on in the thing. My bad. And also, are you aware that the Atheist Community of Austin has another YouTube channel? Are you? Well, you should be. So check out the Atheist Experience Network, a channel where you can find all ACA shows in podcast form. Subscribe at tiny.cc/AEN podcast to listen to the episodes of the Nonprofits, the flagship show of the Atheist Community of Austin, the Atheist Experience, Truth Wanted, Talk Heathen, and all of our other ACA shows. So you don't miss a single episode. That's what I'm trying to tell you right now. Suffering succotash. With that being said, let's move on into segment 2, which is What the Florida? Helen, it's all on you, babe.
Well, let me get my rant hat on. All right.
That's
my rant
I'm
hat.
ready.
Yes,
I'm ready.
lovely rant hat. We like it.
Get ready. Okay.
Where's the popcorn?
Yeah. Yeah, I got a rant. Okay. So, as someone that lives in Florida, I feel like every single damn day lately, I gotta deal with another BS legislation that I think is the absolute worst. So, this legislation is just to put this fear into Florida companies that they will have discrimination baked into their employee policies. So the idea with the article was that if you have an employee and they are going through transition, and some companies do have the ability to help their employees pay, as part of their healthcare program, to pay for transition care. Well, a bill got introduced to put companies financially liable if they choose to pay for their employees' transition care as part of their healthcare plan. Now, I feel this is an HR issue, not a government issue, but I guess I live in logic land. Anyway, so the person that proposed this bill, Blaze Ingaloya, this mofo, let me give a little brief history so you can understand him better in context and why I want to rip my hair out. So, Ingaloya is originally from New York. He was first a biology major in college, but then dropped out shortly afterwards. I guess he couldn't cut in academics, so he decided to move to Spring Hill, Florida. He did start 2 companies, which I'm not going to promote here because I do not want to give him publicity for his companies, and then got involved in local politics, running as a Republican. And real brief, let me explain a couple of things from his voting record via Wikipedia. Ingaloya and other Republicans proposed changes to restrict voting rights in Florida. The proposed changes to restrict mail-in voting were notable, given that Republicans had traditionally voted by mail more than Democrats, but Democrats outvoted Republicans by mail in 2020. Asked about asked about cases of voter fraud, Angolia said, "I don't know, but I'm sure it was going on. Just the fact that they weren't caught doesn't necessarily mean that it's not happening." That's it. That's nice. Good. Yeah. Not facts, feelings, just feelings. So
Weird.
Angolia,
I wonder who says that all the time.
I know. Weird,
Weird.
huh? Yeah. Angolia also proposed legislation that would prohibit technology companies from deplatforming political candidates. Several social media companies have removed Trump from their platform after he used the platforms to spread false information about the 2020 election and it foment violence. Okay. Angolia made an exception for Disney, which runs a theme park in Florida, because guess what? We get a lot of tourist money from there. So exceptions are, you can pick and choose your morals, apparently. Now, am I surprised a bigot wants to impose his ideology not only on his voting base, but also on Florida business owners? Obviously not. In the article, he claimed that woke ideology is all political, though I can't help but ponder that maybe he's being a little bit of a hypocrite. Just a bit, tiny bit. Because there are plenty of businesses who donate to political campaigns in exchange for certain policies to go through the legislation, and pushing this bill forward would be a warning to companies that would offer gender-affirming care to their employees that they better think twice. I also want to point out the percentage of companies doing this and what is happening, like the people that are trans in Florida that would actually receive this is very, very small. So this is a nothing burger, really, but bigot gonna bigot. So children and their families have to suffer and othered because, yet again, politicians want to manipulate their base and push them away from thinking of how they want to screw them over again and again. Like, let's put it on the woke people. Don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain. So I'm going to stop ranting and I'm going to, find a calm space. So, Annie.
Yes.
Please tell me how you feel about this. I would love to hear your opinion. Why I find some center in my proverbial soul.
Well, I'll tell you, I got some feelings about it. First of all, this article is very confusing. I read it. I had to read it a bunch of times because I was like, they're banning what? And they're approving what? So if you're confused, here's the thing. If a company pays for someone to get transitioning surgery, and then that person later decides to detransition, that company's on the hook for paying that bill, which is crazy. I don't know. That's not going to happen that often. They said, 97% of people don't detransition. Sorry,
that's correct. They don't.
So it's very rare. And they said even the people who do detransition, it's often because of social pressure, not because they actually regret their decision to make that. So my first thought was like, great, they're financially incentivizing companies to support their trans workers by being like, hey, we want you to be happy. Please don't transition. We're happy for you. Stay who you are, which that's great. I think that the people who made this, what is this, a proposal, a bill, a law, whatever it is.
It's a bill. That's being in our local government. In Florida,
so the state government. I think they just they never met a trans person, because all the trans people I know who have gone through this surgery have had to fight and claw for this, right? They've had to call their insurance companies and be like, no, I need this. This is a medical treatment. And then they have to go to a different one, and then they have to make all these phone calls, and then getting their prescription. It is a hard process. And then even once you get the surgery, which not all trans people get surgery, there's plenty of trans people who live their whole life never doing any kind of surgical transition. Right. But if you want to go through that surgery, first of all, it's very expensive. If your healthcare doesn't cover it, you're on the bill for a lot of money. And I've seen people do GoFundMe's, right? Because this is important to them. So again, just clawing their way through. If healthcare is not going to take care of them, they're going to take care of themselves. And then, to go through a pretty invasive surgery, to have a month-long recovery or longer, it's a lot. It's a big deal. People don't just make this choice willy-nilly, and they don't just change their minds later. It's frustrating to read these articles because it seems like this person has never met a trans person. just go find one and ask about their experience, okay?
Right. I'm sitting here like, wow, they don't have a trans friend, so they can't even use that. Like,
well, they probably do. That trans person's just
No,
not.
that's the
they're afraid to
thing.
come out to them.
Right, exactly. So when I looked at the statistics, and you all mentioned the 97% do not detransition, they're okay with their transition. I want to say that, like, obviously the 3% that do end up changing their mind and detransitioning in whatever way that is, they are valid, but we also have to keep in mind that the vast majority of people do not, and they're happy in their decision. So just want to make it clear, no one's saying that the people who do choose to detransition are not valid, because they are. Anyway, that out of the way, I did look up some statistics, and it says a 2011 study published by the Clinical Child Psychology and Psychiatry said that 84% of children detransitioned on their own. And apparently this is a stat that a bunch of people are pointing to be like, look, it's a phase. And then really when you look at it, they only interviewed 25 teenagers. And apparently I was not able to access the full study. So I will, I will be corrected if it was a paywall, of course. Broke college kids, so can't afford that. But apparently different sources are saying that the study was flawed. The N number, or the amount of participants, was only 25, and that's really a low number for a study to point to like at the end all be all of this. And then in addition, they apparently didn't catch up with 40% of those 25 kids. Like they weren't able to, like, because it was supposed to be like a follow-up survey, and then they didn't find like almost half of the kids that they originally, and then they were like, see, look, 84% of the 40% that we couldn't find, or the 60% that we found, whatever it is. So the study was really flawed. And that same author who made that flawed study did a second study 2 years later in 2013, and that one had 127 teenagers, so a lot bigger, sample size. And then they found a statistically significant positive correlation between the intensity of gender dysphoria and its persistence in someone's life. So basically, in layman's terms, that would be there's a direct correlation between someone's intensity of gender dysphoria. So if you're kind of like lukewarm, kind of like, yeah, I feel it a little bit, or you're like, oh my gosh, I am gender dysphoric. Usually the ones who are on that latter side of it end up being dysphoric well into the future. So I think that's important to notice and make sure that we draw attention to. And like Annie said, I do want to point out that a lot of these studies are not taking into account the fact that there is social and medical transition. And, like she said, there are people who can go their entire lives without transitioning at all, in terms of like surgery or hormone replacement even. They could just social transition. So with this like trans panic that's going on, they're like, oh my gosh, they're going to be, we all heard the expletive there, so I'll save our viewers. But, they're going to undergo this invasive procedure, and then at 6 years old, or, obviously that's hyperbolic, but it's just crazy. No one's doing that. And you have to take into account that someone wearing a type of clothing that is not with their assigned at birth sex or gender is not the same as getting reconstructive surgery or hormone replacement therapy even. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there, that the stats are not on their side here.
Do you know, in that study, was it people who had gone through hormone or surgery, or was it just like, I want to change my name and then I changed my mind later?
I think one of the flaws of the 2011 study that I found with the 84% were like detransitioning on their own, like it's a phase. It did say that it did not account for the difference between the social and medical transition. So that means the kids that were like, hey, I think I feel like a boy and I want to go by this boy name. And then we're like, oh, never mind, actually. But they're lumping that in the same category as people who were like undergoing hormone replacement therapy, puberty blockers, that kind of stuff. So thank you for drawing attention to that. That was another flaw of the study.
Yeah.
Right. There's a huge difference. You can say, hey, I think I'm a boy and let me wear boy clothes, and then be like, never mind, I think I'm just a tomboy. That was me. That was literally
That was
me
me
growing
too.
up. That was
Yeah.
me.
Am I included in this transitioning
That's what I'm
statistic?
saying.
Like,
According
You
to
can't
the
lump that
2011
together.
one,
You can't.
would
And
be,
also,
yeah.
all clothing is non-binary. If you stop being
Yeah.
a bitch about it, so
Right.
it's cloth that you cover your body with. So we protect ourselves from the elements. It's all these other people like, oh no, like they're wearing a skirt. That's a girl thing, and I'm like, did you?
Scotland disagrees.
oh,
Scotland
Scotland disagrees.
Oh, we disagreed.
That is completely
200 years
socially
ago.
constructed.
Well, I did want to bring up a couple of things, specifically something that was in the article that in Goglia, in Go. The guy
This
from New
dude,
York,
that dude.
the guy from New York, starting
That
with
guy.
an I,
He's
that
like
guy,
lace.
yeah, that
Butthead.
Butthead.
yeah,
I like
yeah,
that.
yeah. I will not be hyperbolic, but that guy. But
Okay.
anyway, one of the things that he said, specifically when he was trying to put businesses on the hook if they were going to pay for transitional surgery, is that woke businesses need to be held accountable when offering to pay for gender affirming surgeries in other states such as California, because they are nothing more than political decisions masquerading as healthcare and human resource decisions. And I,
It's almost
and
like
I,
they have an agenda.
oh,
Just saying.
paranoid, right?
maybe
Should I also
don't
think
know.
that birds aren't real?
I don't know. Maybe and we're not really here. It's just it's yeah, we're all just like jars, brains, jars, that thing, and then that nature. Look over there. We're not talking.
It's turtles
But
all the way down, Cynthia.
all the way down, all the way down, dome. But I always want to ask that guy, sir. Excuse me, sir. I'm just gonna talk on the camera, sir. Could you please tell me what the hell is a woke business?
Yes.
I really would want to know.
Is it just awake?
Is it awake? Right. Is it awake? Are
got a
you
lot
taking
of caffeine in it?
I eat, or lack thereof, or it's, or like, did you have an espresso shot when you
Or
bought
follow
your
the
business?
studies. They
to
follow
actually come-
empirical data. That's weird. That's weird.
I think if you have a
but-
pride flag, that makes you woke. I think that's the
Well,
rule.
I think that if you have a pride flag and you support CRT, then you are a woke business.
Yeah.
But but one of the things that I also wanted to point out in the article was Alejandra Caraballo, who feels coverage for detransitioning under a broader gender dysphoria diagnosis isn't inherently bad, and I think it should be covered. However, another thing but she did say this, is that even though that I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea for businesses to cover detransitioning, if the member decides to go ahead and detransition for whatever reason, that the stipulations that this particular bill is making is completely broad. And as you pointed out, Annie, you had to read the article a few times to get what the hell everybody was talking about. It doesn't give much foundation to stand on to actually bring these things into a light that makes sense. It's almost like when these particular lawmakers, who have a tendency to be on the GOP side, are not consulting medical trained professionals or scientists when they're actually writing these bills.
Say it ain't so.
Who would have guessed?
Helen, can you bring some light to that? Is this the case?
I would like to say, and I will send
I'm
this
sure
up
I'm
as
not
best
running
I
a
can.
fever.
Like, as someone that lives in a very red state, and this might not even pass. I doubt it will. I don't think it's. It's too much of a nothing burger to pass. It is just a political maneuvering to get people riled up, because that's what we've been dealing with lately. It's people in the Florida GOP, which extends to the rest of the country, to get their panties in a bunch over nothing burgers. And again, I will emphasize, they do this to keep everybody distracted. And that's the most frustrating part. And I'm going to make one more point again. The people that this is actually affecting is very, very small. So again, this is a nothing burger, but that doesn't mean that you don't fight against these things, because even if it affects one person, it still affects one person. And that's all I get.
Too.
Yeah. So that's all I got to say about it. I'm going to get off my soapbox and let's move on. Let's move on to something else now.
Yeah, we will. I just want to encourage. I'm just going to speak into my camera again.
Okay.
People in Florida, vote. No, moving on. We're just going to go ahead and move on. If this matters to you, vote. All right. Take a break, y'all. We ready to take a break? Because this is what the Florida really got all of our gizzards in a bunch. So we're going to take a break. And if you did not tune in to the ACA shows last week, here is what you missed.
Like, this matters, that it can work, and to just realize that, yeah, something that we work on here actually can have some sort of impact on the world made me not just want to do this show, but made me want to actually care.
We think there's a universe, though we can't verify 95% of it. I am reading off of my research and my brain.
Is your research a JPEG you found on Facebook? Because if it is, that is not research.
Ms. Cabbage has never provided the plaintiffs with a correct address. And I just found that freaking hilarious, because what kind of kid show main antagonist is that? Like, I just picture him floating off in a balloon shaped like his head, screaming, "Wrong house again, Baxter?"
Why on earth are you not entertaining the idea you're talking to Jesus? Don't confuse me with Christ. Christ could turn water to wine. That's a distinction.
I'm losing the plot here. I feel like I'm talking to German Borat. I'm not going to lie. Like,
that God, if it's powerful enough, could present me with evidence that would convince me.
Yeah.
And thus far, has not done so. Your call isn't helping.
We are back. And just because August is on the show, dead ass. And
Dead ass.
Dead ass.
Dead
And dead ass. Period. Okay. Yes, use all the Gen Z terms. And if you can also arrange to be in the Austin area on Sunday, March 26th, consider joining us in the studio audience at the ACA Free Thought Library for live broadcasts of Talk Heathen and the Atheist Experience. Doors open at noon on Sunday, and parking is wherever you can find a legal spot after the lot is full. If you can't make it there this month, we will continue to broadcast live from the library the last Sunday of each month. So keep watching this show, the flagship show of the Atheist Community of Austin, and our website at atheist-community.org for news and information as we expand our in-studio offerings in the near future. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to this segment, which is me.
Yay. Yay, Cynthia.
Yo, Cynthia.
Yay,
Go,
Cynthia.
Hey. I did thank you everybody for affirming me. I appreciate you. And this article, I appreciate I heart you too, dead ass. And this article actually is called Coney Barrett Searches Bible for God's Opinion of the Internet. It is an article that was written in the New Yorker by Anni Borowitz on February 22nd of 2023. Now, I just want to preface this that this is a satire piece. And the satirical shit that the SCOTUS probably would say if they had to consult the Bible for anything. So basically, in this particular article, it says that after several justices expressed confusion about the technological issues that were before them, Barrett clapped her hands her hands impatiently and said, "It doesn't matter what we think about the internet. What does God think about it?" And as of Wednesday, Barrett's clerks had failed to find any mention of the internet in the books of Genesis, Exodus, or Leviticus, but were said to be holding out hope for the book of Numbers. Dun-dun-dun. 1011100011111.
Does she not know that there's like a search function in the Bible online? You can search for the word internet in the Bible. You can get that answer real fast. I don't
They have PDFs on that. Just Control F. Come on. What?
I guess our fellow Gen Zer, what say you about said
What
article?
say ye? Very nice. So I had this on the tip of my tongue. I was like, I think there's something that is sort of like this. So it's called Poe's Law, I guess, and it is described as satirical expressions of extremism online, that are hard to distinguish from genuine ones without indicating intent. Meaning that, like, basically someone can be satirical, but then you're like, okay, but people actually say this, so now I can't tell if this is satire or not.
Right.
And so as I was like, I remember in the chat before, we came on and doing our notes, we were all like, wait, is this real? Because it seems like this could be something that would happen. I mean, knowing who Coney Barrett is. So I thought that was great that this is a perfect example of Poe's Law. If you didn't know about that, you learn something new every day.
Sprinkle in the brain now. Thank you.
Right. Another thing I want to point out that is just completely hilarious, not even necessarily on topic, but this same guy, Andy Borowitz?
Yeah, Andy Borowitz, yeah.
I'm terrible at pronouncing things, so thank you. In 2012, he actually made like a Facebook post that said the baby Jesus was the last homeless person the Republicans liked.
Oh, wow.
And I came across this because when I Googled, more information about this, because, paywalls, fantastic. The Christians were losing their mind. And it's like my favorite thing. I love when they get mad about such insignificant, who the F cares stuff. So I'm just like reading all these articles, just watching them just like cry. And one of them said, let's see. When satire becomes mockery of faith. And then I looked up the definition of satire, and literally the first synonym is mockery. That's the whole point. Do you not know what satire is?
No, they don't.
Listen. As a Gen Zer, I feel very much entitled to say Google is free. So you can't be willfully ignorant anymore. But yeah, that kind of stuff was hilarious. They were citing, that's where I found his Facebook post from 2012, because people were losing their minds over the fact that he said that. And I was like, oh, shots fired. Wow. Yeah, they were going like, they basically did the whole, why are they only going after Christians? Blah, 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 blah.
I'm being persecuted.
Oh my gosh, the persecution complex, please. I need it, please. Nothing. I'm the majority and privileged. I need to feel like something's wrong so I have something interesting in my life. But yeah, basically the fact they don't know the definition of satire, and it's hilarious. I'm surprised that people weren't like, well, actually, pushing their glasses up their nose, like
get a little fedora tip going on.
Well, actually, if you look in this Bible chapter at this verse, it actually says something that vaguely could resemble something that loosely and not really resembles the internet, and therefore I'm going to say this was a pretense, a foreshadowing of the internet. Therefore, the Bible is true. Guys, we solved it.
That's right.
No more atheists. Take that, atheists. Take that, atheists.
Yes.
Cancel this show.
We got you.
Cancel. We're just canceling the show. We're gone.
Yep.
We're gone.
Right, Helen.
Right.
I am curious what you think.
What I thought about this was because like if I did not know this was satire, hashtag blame Johnny. When I saw it come up, I was like, for a brief second, I have to wonder if anyone in our faithful audience, see what I did there, had read the same article and did a pause. Like, did she really say this? Because
Poe's Law. It has a name.
I know,
it has a name now.
I will say the article is suspiciously short, like 2 sentences. So
it
really is.
But also too, like there are people that have thought Onion articles were real. So and that's the thing. It's like you do not recognize satire at all.
Not online.
And not online. And then you have people screaming about fake news. I'm like, this is the ultimate fake news. It's not,
that's the point.
That's the point. Right over their heads. And it's just so, because like, we are, a left-leaning bunch. We are atheists. We tend to we have our skeptic hats on, our skeptic brains. And I just have, a thing where I would like, those on the right to have more of a skeptic brain, and also too, their humor isn't very good. And that's
like
problem,
2 jokes, maybe.
2 jokes. Like
I disagree. I think that their humor is absolutely wonderful. Have you read?
Pray tell.
Have you watched Newsmax?
Okay.
Cracking up.
I don't want to lose the
time.
brain cells I have. They don't regenerate, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Well, I'm sorry.
Okay,
about
all
that,
right. Like I think their ability to do satire is not up to par, because you have to be able to laugh at yourself and the absurdity of the world. And when you have like a persecution complex, and as Annie pointed out, like, oh no, I'm not, oh God, it's just like and also I want to remind everybody that Google is the all-knowing God now.
It is.
It is.
You gotta consult Dr. Google.
You can consult Dr.
The
Google.
they are all-knowing oracle. Yes,
they are the all-knowing oracle. So
if you run into an article that's 2 sentences long, just do another search. Just check.
No, get unreasonably angry and then post it everywhere.
Post it on Facebook. And
then there's rules we have to follow.
Yes, including setting Twitter on fire, indeed.
All right.
But Annie, what do you think?
Well, I will say I'm very happy to hear that Amy is reading her Bible. I think that's a good first step to becoming an atheist.
Amen.
So we're all claps all around for that.
Yes.
I do think. So I got a little bit of feelings too about the satire of this, because I think we're all having fun and we think it's kind of fun. And I do think that some Christians will be offended by that. They'll be like, the mean atheists are going after us, and it kind of can convince them to be more in their position. So it depends on like we gotta live our lives. We're all trying to survive in this world. If you're really trying to convince someone, I don't think like making jokes about them is going to convince them. But I'm not saying we can't ever make jokes. That's all. I make a lot of jokes. My other thought was like, are we actually using the Bible for law? Because I think we're not supposed to be doing that. I don't think so. I would hope that we're not. But it's also
maybe
like
there was like a First Amendment,
right?
Establishment.
I do like the idea. I see this as like an improv where Amy's in the courtroom and she's just like, I don't know the answer. All right, pull out the Bible. Where's the Bible? Bring it in. And then everyone's just on board. Just like,
now.
Here's your Jesus Bible. Please consult it so you can make laws for this poor Muslim person. It's just like.
That's why the Church of Satan exists. They hate to think, they all think we're Satan worshipers, which I'm not in it, but sorry, I digress. That's what that's there for, because they always.
Wondering, a quick question: if we had an AI write the Bible, then could we say that the God would have an opinion on the Bible? Just asking.
I would write a better Bible than God did. His is awful. Really, I have a lot of critiques. I don't know.
Well, I will say, because I did want to bring up a point that's a bit more serious. Even though, like, yes, we are joshing, jokey, ha 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 ha, how silly you actually consult.
LMFAO, if you will.
Yeah, yes, dead ass.
Dead ass.
Yes, dead ass.
We'll do it.
But one of the things that I wanted to bring up, and I actually got this from an article from USA Today, that was called it was an opinion piece about the precedents protecting religious liberty that's being set specifically in the Supreme Court. And one of the things that they said is that a worrisome consequence of recent Supreme Court decisions and the perception that the court is pro-religion is that it feeds a common myth that our country is or should be a Christian nation. Unfortunately, this myth gains traction when the separation of religion and government is denigrated, as well as when religious liberty is misunderstood as privilege for public policies that align with certain religious beliefs. And it goes on to say that at a religious liberty conference this summer in Rome, this is specifically in 2022, Associate Justice Samuel Alito described his view by saying this: the problem is that looms is not just indifference to religion. It's not just ignorance about religion. There's also growing hostility to religion, or at least the traditional religious beliefs that are contrary to the new moral code that is ascendant in some sectors. So even though that Andy Borowitz did this whole satirical piece that says, haha, look at this. We're mocking, a very conservative right-wing judge, Coney Barrett, who says that we're going to consult the Bible on what God thinks about the internet, and then use it to actually help with decisions. They are actually using these particular precedents to make decisions that rule all of us. And one of the things that I think that should be thought about specifically in any satire piece, is that it does bring to light some type of issue that's going on in our particular environment that needs attention. And I think that this is something that we should definitely pay attention to specifically, because this is what we're being ruled by right now. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and just close this on out, guys, because we are running out of time and we need to get to the last segment. But before we do that, I also want to admonish you, dear audience member, that you can become a member of the channel for as little as 99 cents a month. So click the join button below the video, and this will give you access to special chat emojis. And also, merch alert! We have a store! So
I can't see my merch. I'm not standing up.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Helen is wearing merch.
We know it's there. We know it.
I am wearing
merch.
merch.
Helen is wearing merch. Yes. Just believe us. Have faith. Visit tiny.cc/merchaca to get your favorite items like t-shirts, hoodies, and coffee mugs. And you can check out the new items like beanies, phone cases, and tote bags. And all ACA shows feature a special limited edition item each month. So be sure to check out our store for NP merch and merch from all the other shows. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead to segment numero cuatro, which is segment numero last. But before we do that, we just like to say, this is a step in the right direction. Step in the right direction, yeah. Step in the right direction. We're stepping in the right direction, yeah. And our fellow dead-ass Gen Zer, August, is going to lead us into this one. Take it away, honey.
Well, first of all, I feel very safe.
As you should.
So that was wonderful. Love that introduction.
No problem.
Dead ass.
Dead ass.
Legit.
Badass.
So last but certainly not least, we have the more upbeat article here. This comes to us from NPR, and it looks like it was written February 16th, just a little bit ago. And it is also with the Associated Press, it looks like. So it goes over how the Spanish Parliament has now become very, very progressive and has begun passing different laws for specifically teenagers that are of reproductive anatomy and transgender rights for them, so abortion rights and transgender rights, and that this is now the first country in Europe to give paid menstrual leave, which is wow. I cannot even, as an American myself, that is insane.
Insanely good.
Insanely good, obviously. Yeah, I'm kind of like,
that.
I want to pinch myself. No. Yeah, definitely a good thing. But some other things that come along with this, just to get the full list of amazing things here. Specifically, 16 and 17-year-olds will be able to get an abortion without parental consent. Period products will be offered free of charge in schools and prisons, which is also very, very progressive and amazing.
Free in prison?
Yes.
Right. Wow. Free prison. Wow. Weird.
Wow.
State-run health centers will give period products for free as well. And they will, in addition, give hormonal contraceptives and emergency contraception. It looks like free of charge. So that's incredible. It doesn't end there, folks. Listen, this keeps going. Workers suffering from debilitating period pain, as we said, can get time off, but not only time off, paid time off to deal with their menstrual cycle. And then another thing was, let's see, gender affirming care, and specifically the transgender side of things. 14 to 16-year-olds will need parental approval to get on any kind of, I believe it kind of was vague in its description of it, so I'm not entirely sure, but it looks like it would be something more medical because, you know, social transition doesn't really go through a judge. 12 to 13-year-olds will need a judge authorization, and 14 to 16 will need parental approval. 12 to 13 will need a judge's approval. And I would assume in addition to the parents. And then it bans conversion therapy, which we can all give a fantastic hooray. Gosh, that's awesome.
Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Right.
Your thumbs up.
And then another thing that people don't really consider, but the state will now support lesbians and single women who are seeking IVF treatments. So you won't have to have a stable one man, one woman, blah, blah, blah. You won't have to have that. And also if you are like, hey, I want to have a child on my own, I don't need a partner, whatever it is, then you will be able to seek that. So all in all, fantastic. And I want to get on the next plane to Spain now. And all I can say is to end this little introduction is Vamos España.
Yeah, like what a
Muy bien.
Yeah, sí.
Like I know a lot of bad things are happening in the world, but like good things are happening other places too. So I don't want people to lose hope to just think like everything is terrible, because this is an example of like things can go right if we get the right people in office and we get some people that are actually following some medical science. Then, you know, we can get things done for people. I will say the free menstrual items, I've seen that happen more even locally. I've noticed my grocery stores they had like a quarter machine for them, which is weird sounding. They're in there. But now they've recently switched them to be free, which is, I mean, I think reasonable. I don't know.
Interesting.
It's, it seems like if it's something that women have to deal with, then why should they have to pay money?
We're just saying
to, like,
a person
exist,
with a uterus,
right?
or a person.
I didn't
with a
choose
uterus.
this.
Oh, yes, I should
Yeah.
say
I
a
would
person
gladly get rid of
who
it if I
has a menstrual
could.
cycle. Sorry, I
Yeah,
apologize.
yeah, no worries. Yeah.
So yeah, the idea that these things can be free. Also, contraceptives, which that's not always just for preventing pregnancy. Some people take them as hormone regulation or to regulate their cycle as well. So, you know, we don't have to be going to people and saying like, well, are you having sex? Is that why you want these? You know, we can let people be themselves and make their own choices and hopefully help them make good choices.
Indeed.
I don't know about you guys, but when I was in school, we did this whole, abstinence program. They also did like the DARE, don't do drugs, don't do anything. Just don't do anything. Just go
Don't
home
get me
and
started. I will bust on the song. If Cynthia can sing, I will sing. D won't do.
Surprise, surprise. It didn't work. It didn't work. It wasn't the best method of trying to get these outcomes. If we really care about people not having unwanted pregnancies, then I think the answer really is, according to the data, that we give people access to these birth control pills.
Indeed. Helen.
That's what I gotta say.
So, two things. I would like to say that because we all read this in NPR, we are smarter than you. Because when you read an NPR article, you're automatically 20% smarter via our friend
automatically.
Kelly. So
it's science. It's science.
Am I double
it's
smart?
science.
Yes, it's science.
So I'm gonna get that out of the way. I do agree that there is some pushback against this that the article mentioned. That there are doctors that are kind of protesting against this because it goes against some religious freedoms and ideas, especially when it comes down to like purity culture and things like that still exists in these countries, even in progressive countries. So there are going to be people that are going to, they're going to bark about it. And I want to emphasize that even though we are like, yes, Spain, great. People have the right to have those opinions and express them in a way so we can have conversations about them and still move forward. It doesn't have to be all vitriol. It doesn't have to be anger and everybody shouting at one another, because this shows that, yes, we want people should bring up legitimate concerns and we'll talk about those things, and still move forward and help as many people and many citizens that they can. And I think that this shows you can have both. You can have both. And it doesn't have to be an argument all the time.
Don't we all have the same goal? We just want good things for people.
I'm like, I want everybody to be happy and good things and good health care. And, that's all I want. I don't think I'm asking for a lot. Anyway, Annie, did you want to give your 2 cents? Want to move on now?
Well, before that happens, one of the things that I also wanted to mention specifically that was a pushback about all these wonderful things, and I was just waiting for August to say, but wait, there's more, is that one of the issues that they're also having with all these slew of laws is that the only yes means yes law. Which makes verbal consent the key component in cases of alleged sexual assault.
Yes, thank you. Cynthia. That's very important.
Yeah.
There's just a whole list of awesome things. That,
and then we get there like, whoa, hold on, bump. But but the government, the article actually says, is now struggling to come up with an amended version and end the controversy ahead of elections later this year. It has inadvertently allowed hundreds of sex offenders to have prison sentences reduced. So with that being said, of all these particular wonderful progressive passages of the recent law, this could be a possible taint. And even with some of the arguments that could be from the right, one of the things that's happening in Spain also, and I got this specifically from the OECD library, called From Evolving Families Models in Spain, a new national framework for improved support and protection for families. There's a very low birth rate in Spain, and people who have the ability to have children are having them later on in life, and usually they don't go beyond 2. So the possibility of a pushback as well could be, well, if you have all these wonderful progressive laws that you're saying that you're going to do, this could even further impact an issue specifically with the low birth rate with our families. August, what do you think about that if we're putting that in there? And then if you could also take us out from this article, please.
Yeah, I kind of glanced over that one. I don't know. I think there's a lot of nuance here, I think, and I think we brought up some really good things. One thing I specifically want to mention, though, is the there was a statistic from European Institute for Gender Equality in 2019 that said that Spain has a parliament that consists of 48% women, and it even surpasses these, Scandinavian countries like Finland and Sweden that are known for being super progressive. Even they have more. Spain has more women in their parliament. So I wonder. We're all kind of women here, so however you choose to identify, but we all kind of relate to this. And I think that's very telling, that the place that has the most women, the most people that will be directly impacted by this because of your age and whatnot, and reproductive abilities, obviously, it's very, I think, very telling. And I think there's probably a good causal relationship there between women being mostly in charge as well, and there being such progressive things in terms of protecting gender equality here.
Indeed.
I do have one more thing I want to say about this article too, is that we were like, why are we talking about this necessarily, like menstrual issues? Like, does that have to do with the Bible? And I think it does, because I think some of the taboo we have about like virginity and menstrual cycles, it comes from the Bible. There's verses in there that says when a woman bleeds, or when a person with a uterus bleeds, that they're so dirty that anything they touch becomes dirty. Any person they touch becomes dirty. And like that kind of thing, if that's like in your religion for years and years and years, like it does become a part of the culture. So I'm blaming religion a little bit for why it's taken so long to get on some of these rights. Another thing for the say yes is that you can say yes, you can consent and say yes, and then you can take that back. So I don't always say like one verbal yes is not it. You have to continuously consent. And also, prison is a scam. So I don't know if this prison sentence being reduced is because these people are going somewhere that might actually help them. I don't know about that. So
that will be for another segment, Annie. We would definitely have to do a follow up on this. Yeah, because I'm very curious about how that will pan out as well, and also to like what the legislation is going to look like. Once they actually do like when they revisit specifically the yes only yes means law. Yes and only yes consent law actually
should be yes and continuously done. Yes,
right, continuously yes.
Enthusiastically yes,
continuously yes, yes and yes, and yes people, you too can join our fan social media outlets. Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Yes, you can say yes to us.
You can say yes
to us.
Enthusiastically.
Continuously. And join continuously. And you can find most of the nonprofit hosts on the Atheist Community of Discord too. So yes to that as well. And you can do that by going to tiny.cc/ACD Discord and on Facebook at tiny.cc/FBNP. And also, we value your feedback. So please make sure you tell us what you like and what you don't like in the comments below. And you can also email us, guys. You really can. If you email us, we will read your email on air. And so we can play that nice little video called Mailbag. So you can do that if going to nonprofits at atheist-community.org. And also visit the Atheist Community of Austin's official website at atheist-community.org on the latest of what's been happening. And feel free to contact the ACA at there's no tiny, just TV at atheist-community.org. And then, Annie, can you please tell us where if they want more of you? I know you mentioned it before, but mention it again. If they want more 60 seconds with Satan, they'll say
if you are into the tick and the talk, that is where you can find me. Just search 60 seconds with Satan, the number, and then Satan, and you'll find me. You'll find this beautiful face there talking about Satan.
And it is
I love beautiful
face
things
indeed. yes. And
well,
Helen or August, do you all have any final thoughts?
Helen, go for it.
Oh, sure. Sure. I got thoughts. I thought this was a really good discussion about, I'm glad that we talked about something positive at the end, and that there's good things happening around the world that are moving us more into a more humanistic, compassionate world. So I think, thumbs up for that. I'm all a fan of that. And for the other stuff that we talked about, this is just stuff that we have to constantly, push the envelope on and fight against, and, raise up our voices, so we can move to those humanistic values wherever you are. So do that, people. Do it.
Yes, yabba dabba do that. Yabba dabba do that.
You got a
August.
voice, use it.
Use it. Yes. And August, dead ass. What you
Dead
got?
ass,
Yeah.
legit, facts, no printer.
Goodbye.
All right. To just summarize everything here, don't fast for any religion or really any reason unless you consult a doctor first and they say that that's a good thing for you to do. And if you are going to do it, again, consult your doctor and don't be extreme. Come on, guys. And then Florida is Florida. I think that about sums it up. But yeah, don't be. Yeah, I'm sure you can attest to it.
It's Florida.
It's just like kind of cut around Florida and just kind of send it Satan's butthole. Oh my gosh.
Oh wow.
Florida's being Florida, and don't be transphobic in really roundabout ways and pretend like you give a flying hoot to be censored. And then
it's okay, we're more than 5 minutes in.
right. And then don't let Poe's law of is this satirical, like Annie mentioned, probably should do a second search before you just start yelling about how Amy Coney Barrett is wanting to look at the Bible for the internet. Right. Yeah, and then finally, just we're in the right direction. Put women in your parliament, in your government, and good things happen. And let's keep on in the right direction here. That's all I got.
I got you, and
sure.
and that's a wonderful note to end upon, especially since this is the beginning of Women's History Month, and women have in Spain specifically, a very Catholic country, has passed some really progressive laws. I'm hoping that we can possibly see that matriculate in other countries, including our own. And with that being said, everybody, thank you for watching us and listening to us. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Peace out.
Watch Talk Heathen live Sundays at 1 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTTH and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/callth.